Okay. Right. A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to all participants. A special welcome to our feature speaker, Peter Neptune, who we shall formally introduce very shortly. We are glad that you have all joined us this evening for this very important and relevant webinar entitled Wellness for Emergency Response Volunteers, Taking Care of Yourself so you can care for others. Sometimes as emergency responders, we are focused a lot on those we serve, necessarily so. However, we also need to ensure that we take care of ourselves. Why? Well, so that we can continue to contribute optimally to assisting others. That is what this webinar is about. The content being delivered today can apply to every one of us, notwithstanding our various backgrounds, interests, locations, responsibility, or organizations that we may belong to. Feel free to share the link. We are now starting up, and the URL is wellness.ttreact.com. It's at the bottom of the slide. Hope everyone can see it clearly. To anyone that you think would benefit from the information that will be disseminated today. So, let me just make sure, right. So we just have a couple of housekeeping announcements. The first one is everyone should already be aware, should have gotten a notification saying that this session is being recorded. So we need your permission to do so. If we encounter any internet connectivity issues, well, try to reconnect a couple of times. If not, that means it might be a major challenge that we're encountering, and we'll certainly postpone to another date, and we apologize in advance for any challenges or glitches that may occur. In fact, I also apologize if we encounter any audio issues as well. These things do happen on these virtual sessions from time to time. Now, while Zoom is the main platform being used, overflows will be automatically redirected to YouTube live stream. And I'm seeing we have a few people already have chosen to use the YouTube live stream, probably on a smart TV or something like that. And also, questions can be asked using the Q&A feature in Zoom, that Q&A button at the bottom. You click on it and you can type a question. And you can also, participants, you can submit your questions at any time in the Q&A. Even before we start, if you have any questions up front, but certainly during the session and certainly at the end of the presentation, you can ask questions using the Q&A box. You can also send via an SMS text or via WhatsApp to 1-868, that's the area code, 74-REACT. Okay, so just a couple of minutes spent on who REACT is. We do have many organizations that are attending today that were invited, many individuals as well who may not be familiar with REACT. So just quickly, first of all, REACT is an acronym for Radio Emergency Associated Communications Teams, and REACT is a voluntary non-profit organization geared towards providing two-way radio communications for public service events and emergencies and disasters. And our motto is public service through communications. REACT, the organization, is headquartered in the United States, in Glendale, California, under the organization named REACT International Incorporated. And REACT was founded in 1962 in the United States and commenced operations in Trinidad and Tobago in the year 1964. So that makes the REACT International organization in 2022 celebrating its 60th anniversary. That's 6-0. There are teams all over the world, and on your screen, you'll see some of the React logos. In terms of what React does, React members utilize two-way radio technology and consist of trained members. And members are trained to utilize robust protocols to provide communications for public service events, and most importantly, to assist with emergencies and disasters. In Trinidad and Tobago, React works very closely with first responder organizations such as the fire services, police service, various arms of the defense force such as Coast Guard, Air Guard, Regiment, as well as other agencies such as the ODPM, TEMA, TMAS, and the disaster management units of the municipal and city corporations. We have MOUs with several agencies for cooperation and collaboration. We also conduct training, education, and advocacy as it relates to radio communications. Courses, for example, that are available include message handling, emergency communications, and preparedness for becoming a licensed amateur radio operator. So many persons tend to ask us, well, how do we interact with React? So just a quick tip. We can suggest, if you're interested in getting your feet wet with a little bit of simulated radio communications, download the free app known as Zello, that's Zello, and you can join the React members channel. That's if you so choose. Zello is a free walkie-talkie app, and you can interact with us on that channel. So in terms of getting more information on React, because this is a webinar about wellness, it's not really to discuss much about React, but just a little bit of intro. So if you desire further information about the organization, we have several URLs up on your screen, but you can also send an email to info@ttreact.com. That's the link, that's the email address that you're seeing on screen, as well as you can contact us via this number, 1-868-74-REACT. And of course, a couple of URLs that you can refer to for further information. So as mentioned before, questions can be asked anytime during the session using the Q&A feature. As we get ready to introduce our featured speaker, please note how you can ask questions via the Q&A, as well as you can SMS text or send a WhatsApp to the number on your screen. So we ask that you please jot it down if you would like to ask a question using SMS or WhatsApp. Or you can simply use the Q&A feature. I see a question I just got. Can I ask a question via YouTube? Unfortunately, we will not be monitoring the YouTube stream. So please, either via Zoom or WhatsApp or SMS text. So good question indeed. So it is my pleasure to introduce our featured speaker. A little bit about him. Peter Neptune has been a communicator for all his life. He started his early career in the media, but soon went into healthcare when he was appointed head of communications and community outreach at the Northwest Regional Health Authority in 2008. This is where he sparked his interest in diabetes education and healthcare. He later continued his career in community outreach as head of community relations and outreach for the Chaguaramas Development Authority. Despite this posting outside the health sector, he continued his lifelong training in health education. In 2015, he was appointed head of communications and community outreach at the North Central Regional Health Authority. While at the NCRHA, he played a key role in forming the National Wellness Centers when he realized that patients in the healthcare system were not healing, despite the fact that ample knowledge existed about proven strategies for reversing diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and other lifestyle diseases. A major stumbling block in his efforts was government's official position that diabetes can only be managed, not cured, and medication plays a leading role in this process. He considered this position to be unacceptable and he felt more should be done for diabetics. So, together with a network of like-minded doctors, diabetes care specialists, and medical professionals, in 2019, the National Wellness Centers was formed. The objective of the National Wellness Centers is to educate and bring hope to their local and international clients in their lifelong struggle with diabetes. Everyone must know that diabetes is reversible and this ailment does not have to be in anyone's future. There is hope. In terms of academic qualifications, Peter Neptune has an MBA with distinction from the Lockjack Graduate School of Business, a graduate diploma in diabetes care from Harvard Medical School, an advanced certificate in crisis management from Falk Nutec, and has completed his PhD in diabetes research, care, and education at the University of the West Indies. I now present to you Peter Neptune, Executive Director of the National Wellness Centers.
Hello. Hello. Can everyone
hear me? Loud and clear.
Okay, great. It's really my pleasure to be here today. Can you all see my screen is also coming up?
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay, great. It's really my pleasure to be here today. And thank you, Ravin, for such a warm welcome. I really feel appreciated from all the care and guidance you've given me setting this up, because I'm not really a good Zoom user. So if I make mistakes, you all just be patient with me. One of the reasons why this...
Dr. Neptune, I just got a comment. Some persons are saying the audio is a little bit soft. I don't know if you're able to either speak a little more loudly or get a little closer to the microphone.
How is this? Is this better?
Yeah, I think it is, yes.
Sounds better?
Yes.
Right, great.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, no problem. Yes, I was saying that I was very pleased for the opportunity to present to this group of people, in particular because when we're preparing for a disaster, we always make sure that all our ropes are tied, all our vehicles are in order, the equipment is in place, but we never think about preparing ourselves for it. And preparing ourselves is just as important as preparing all the equipment, because the reality is people who are driving all of these relief strategies for helping us out, helping out people who are in, who are facing the crisis ahead. And what do we need to do to fix that? And that had me thinking, and that is the real genesis behind this presentation today. When you have to understand that not only your equipment and everything needs to be in place, your human resource as well, and you have to be well in order to deliver the kind of care and relief that you want to deliver to the people who are receiving it as well, right? So on that regard, let's get started. My presentation today is about wellness for emergency responders. And I'm very, very happy to focus on the needs that you all have, because if you are not well, you cannot deliver a focused, strategic response that you really want to deliver for the people you're trying to help. So, I'll try clicking it once more. Right, it's working. So today's presentation, I'm going to give you a rundown of what we're going to deal with today. I'm going to introduce you to the National Wellness Centers. And it's important to introduce you to us, because I think it's important for you to understand why we feel we are well qualified to tell you what we think you ought to do. And a lot of it has to do with what we face in trying to educate people about how to be well, how to change their lifestyle. Because lifestyle change is not simply changing what you're eating, you know. It includes a lot of stuff. It includes stress, it includes your mental health, it includes how you think about the foods you eat and how you interact with people. Your stress level also plays a part in how well you are. If you are stressed out, if you're injured, or if you have an infection, your blood sugar goes up and you're unable to focus as well as before, as you would normally do. And there are also things you can do to even improve on your ability to focus, as well as your ability to think through and to be strategic about how you deliver the care and support that you need to do to save lives. So what I will do then is give you an idea of how diabetes progress throughout our lifetime. Because a lot of people don't realize that diabetes is interwoven into our culture and our life. More than 85% of the population over 30 years old are diabetic, and most of them are not even aware of it. So now, if you are aware of it, you know what to do to save yourself, as well as to improve your level of wellness so that you can deliver the support that the public needs during a crisis. Preparing for the crisis, what you should do. And that is, before the crisis happens, what you as a person ought to do to get your body and your life in place. So when the crisis comes, you will be in a position to deliver the care and the attention that the victims need. We're also going to give you ideas and tips about how to stay focused in a crisis. And that includes tips and foods to eat and exercises you can do to ensure that you remain focused and your attention span stays sharp throughout the crisis. And we're also going to give you ideas of how to increase your energy levels naturally. Oftentimes, one of the biggest things in demand during a crisis is coffee. And literally, coffee sets you up for a great crash at the end. Coffee and energy drinks, those things are actually the worst thing to take when you need to be focused, because they'll put you on a high, yes, but the high doesn't last. And we need you to be alert for an extended period of time, not for 2 hours alone. So these are things that you need to look at. We'll also help you to control your blood sugar for peak performance while you are dealing with the crisis. We'll also address many popular diabetes myths. And one of the reasons why we're focusing on diabetes for wellness is because, as I said earlier, many of us are unaware that we are diabetic, and many things that affect us, like headaches, tiredness during the day, sleepiness during the day. After you eat, you're tired as well, and you want to sleep. Those are all signs and symptoms of diabetes. We have the impression that the signs of diabetes is when your blood sugar goes up. No. When it starts to go up, that is when it reaches an advanced stage. You need to deal with it before that. And many of these myths here is what we're going to deal with, so you'll have a good understanding of it. And we'll also give you easy habits for reversing diabetes and improving your wellness, which will help you to be a more alert and effective rescuer. I don't know if that's the right word. And then we'll entertain questions and we'll provide our contact information. So let's get started. About us. We have 4 offices right now, and we're looking to open an office in Chagona soon. Port of Spain, Arima, San Fernando, and Tobago. And our main focus really is to get people off medication. Because when you're off of medication, your body gets the opportunity to heal. And that is the main message that we at the Diabetes at the National Wellness Center, that is our main message. And we also reach out to communities and do programs like these and health fairs to raise awareness of diabetes through educational events and health fairs. Because we believe that there are too many myths and misunderstandings about diabetes that need to be addressed, and we'll address it here. As I said earlier, more than 85% of adults over 30 years old are diabetic, and the vast majority of them don't even know. They will find out when they're in the 30s, when they're in the 60s and the 70s. By then, your blood sugar is going up and it's too late. It needs to be addressed earlier. And the earlier you deal with it, the earlier you have the education about it, the more effective you can be as a participant in the rescue program, as well as to improve your quality of life and your outlook towards the future. We also keep the cost of our treatment low, as most of our clients are usually senior citizens or on pension. We established 3 years ago, as Ravin said earlier, and we've had more than 800 clients, and we have a 90% success rate. After 3 years, people are still in our program. They're still continuing to follow through with the teachings that we've brought to them and the education that we've been able to share with them and the knowledge. And that is something we are very proud of, because that means that there is a long-term solution to diabetes and a long-term solution to wellness. Because if you're not eating healthy and living a healthy life, you will get sick, and you will be shortening your life and shortening your productive life and devaluing the quality of life you could have in the future. So that's enough about us. Let's deal with diabetes now. And diabetes is important because, as I said earlier, many of us are affected by it and we don't even understand it and know that we are diabetic. You don't be diabetic. 2 years ago, they did a test and you're diabetic. But 4 years ago, they did a test and you were diabetic. Diabetes doesn't work like that. Diabetes starts when you're young and it progresses throughout your whole life. And as it progresses, the symptoms of it manifest itself on your body as you go ahead through your life. It starts when you're 12 years old. And the reason why we start at 12 years old is because prior to 12 years old, you were a child. Your organs were immature. They were still developing. And now that you are 12 years old, a 12-year-old is considered to be an adult physically. They're not mentally ready for the modern world, but physically they are an adult. Their sexual organs are mature. They could get somebody pregnant. Somebody could get them pregnant. Their puberty starts, their menstruation cycle starts. In fact, in the past, we used to marry off 12-year-olds. So that, and even the healthcare system recognizes a 12-year-old as an adult because there are medications that they have for 12 years old and below, and there are medications for 12 years old and above. There's no medication for 18 years and above and 21 years and above. A 12-year-old is considered physically to be an adult. We just have to train that person to be an upstanding citizen. But a 12-year-old, because a 12-year-old organs are at 100% capacity because they've just been matured. Your lungs are working at 100% capacity. Your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, everything is working at 100% capacity. So a 12-year-old could sit down under a mango tree and eat a bucket of mango. And when you check their sugar, it's 80, 85, 75. People over 30 years old can't do that anymore, in the Caribbean at least. But a 12-year-old could do that. And to make matters worse, they will be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And with each of those meals, they're eating one of these 3 foods. Everybody in Trinidad does this. 1 or 3 foods we eat with each meal: flour, rice, or potatoes. And every time we eat that with each of our meals, we give our body a sugar challenge because those foods sends up your blood sugar. And we're eating it with every meal, every day. So the first 12 years of our life, we're eating fruit because mangoes, pomerac, cherries, something always bearing in the Caribbean. And together with all the other stuff that we eat, your bodies convert the sugar in your blood into fat and store it away. So that a 12-year-old, their blood sugar is always low because all their organs are operating at 100% capacity. So it will just convert the sugar quickly into fat and pull it aside. And it does it very efficiently. Now, in the Caribbean, we can live the way we live in, eating all of those sugary foods. Now, you don't have to taste sugar to be eating sugar. Green fig doesn't taste sweet, but green fig has a lot of sugar in it. So many of those foods that you think does not have sugar in it has a lot of sugar, you just can't taste it. Now, you could eat like that for 10 years. After 10 years, your liver gets full. It cannot accept any more fat. So you're about 21 years old now. When your liver reaches that stage, you have stage 1 fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome. Stage 1, almost everyone in the Caribbean suffers with that by the time they're 25 years old. Now, there are no symptoms of stage 1 fatty liver. So you are going to continue to eat like a crazy person. Now, your organs are working well. So as you eat, the sugar in your blood is pulled out of your blood from your organs, converted into fat, and your liver is full. So it now starts to deposit that fat from your liver going outwards. And that area is your belly. So you get a fatty liver and a growing belly. Those are 2 signs of diabetes. And before you're 25-year-old in the Caribbean, all of us have that. This is what a fatty liver looks like compared with a healthy liver. It's amazing to plenty of people when I tell them it takes 10 years to fill your liver in the Caribbean. Sounds like an amazing feat. But when you consider the rest of the world, it takes them a lifetime and they don't even fill it half. We fill it up in 10 years. The result of that is a beer belly. And in our culture, we put a beer belly on a pedestal. When you see a beer belly on somebody, it is clear indication that they have 2 signs of diabetes. They have a fatty liver, which you can't see, and you don't even know where that you have it. And that belly is telling you that your organs is run out of space to store fat. And it starts to show off on your belly. And you know how we know that that is not a beer belly, even though everybody call it a beer belly? Because people who don't drink beers, they still get it. So it is not a beer belly. That is your indication that you have diabetes and it is starting to progress. Now, when all that is happening, your organs are still able to pull the sugar out of your blood and store it away as fat. So whenever you go by the doctor now and get tested, you know your blood sugar will show normal because your organs can still do the work of pulling it out. So in the same way now, in men, the beer belly is what you see. Women have a lot more space to store fat. So all the thick girls and them we see all around the Caribbean, they are not sexy, they are diabetic. And that is the early stages of diabetes. And we have to let them understand that. Women have a lot more space to store fat. They store it on the hips, they store it on the buttocks, they store it in front of them. All of that shows. And when you are diabetic, you also do not have patience for stupid people. So a diabetic person is somebody who doesn't have patience at all. So everybody always concerned how them thick girl and them always have attitude. Because they're diabetic. And the diabetes affect their ability to think. And it affects their mood. And women have a lot more going on inside of them hormone-wise than men. Now that doesn't say that men with beer bellies don't have crazy attitude and make stupid decisions. They do. So it works both ways. Diabetes affects all of us. And as you get older now, you get fatter, your obesity starts to spread all over your body. You get exhausted easier, you're always sleepy, you have low attention span, you have a sour mood, sometimes you experience depressions or anxiety, and definitely sexual dysfunction. Now imagine you having all these problems and a crisis comes up. This adds to your already strained life. And those things need to be addressed. And it must not be shoved under the rug. Because if you're not settled and if you have issues going on at home, and if you see you're unable to work with people, it's very difficult for you to be a first aider and a responder. So as you get older now, you're sleeping all the time. You reach 30, 35 years old, you're tired all the time, and you're tired usually after you eat. If you get tired and sleepy after you eat, you're eating the wrong foods. And you see, as we get older, we want to sleep more. And as we get fatter, we want to sleep more. And as you progress now into your 40s, your blood sugar starts to rise. And that is when the first sign of diabetes, and you become pre-diabetic, when your blood sugar starts to rise. But your blood sugar not rising because you're now diabetic, you know. You have been diabetic for at least 20 years. And your blood sugar is only beginning to rise because your organs are finding it difficult to keep up with the amount of sugar that you're eating. So they're starting to slip and fall behind. And therefore your blood sugar is starting to go up. Hypertension starts as well, because your blood pressure starts to go up and your cholesterol follows as well. Those are not separate diseases. Hypertension is diabetes. High cholesterol is diabetes. Arthritis is diabetes. Stiffness and body pains is diabetes. You being in a sour mood is diabetes. They're all diabetes. And there's a pill for all of those things. But if you take all of those pills, you're not going to get better, because nobody's dealing with why did your blood sugar go up in the first place? Why did your blood pressure go up in the first place? Why did your cholesterol go up in the first place? You cannot just take pills for these things. You have to address why it went up. Because taking pills for your rising blood sugar, your hypertension, they're shooting the messenger. It's your body telling you that something is wrong. And you bringing down the sugar is not addressing what is wrong. That is what we attempt to do. And that is what we successfully do at the National Wellness Center. So it continues to progress. You have to be checking your blood sugar all the time. And as it continues to progress with you taking medication and not making any changes in your lifestyle, it progresses onto heart disease, circulation issues, amputation, stroke, and certainly an early death that could clearly be avoided. You get swelling in your ankles, poor circulation, all of these are part of it. And then the medication also goes along with you. When you first start to show your sugar level going up, you get medication, metformin, diamacron, glucophage, diaban, several other things. And when that stops working, because they're going to double your dose every 2 years, because it's going to stop working, and it's not working simply because you're getting worse. It's not working because your body learns to be more efficient of getting this foreign chemical out of it. So it is less effective because it doesn't stay in your body as long. So they have to double your dose. And what these medications actually do is disrupt your functions of your organs to keep your blood sugar down. And they're not doing anything to help your organs. So we'll have people who have low blood sugar because they're taking the pills regimentally, but they're not feeling well and you're feeling sick. You cannot be getting better and feeling sick. You're supposed to be getting better and feeling better as well. So the last stage is at insulin. And when insulin isn't working because your pancreas and your kidneys are not working, then you go on to dialysis. And dialysis really is end-stage diabetes. It's just a matter of time. Some people, they last 2 to 5 years and then they die. So what does all of this have to do with the crisis? The long term now, you have to make some preparations in advance. Things that you need to do, being aware that the vast majority of us are diabetic and we don't know. Before the crisis comes, you need to start preparing yourself. And many times, organizations like REACT really come into view during the hurricane season, during the rainy season, when their services are needed. And we have a good idea of when those things are going to happen. So you now, as a first responder, need to prepare your body for when this is happening. And that is why I did the introduction to the diabetes, so that you'll realize that there's a lot of work that you need to do, because you're not even aware that you're not at your peak. You're not even aware that you are vulnerable. And if you are vulnerable, you will not be able to deliver the kind of care and organizational support that is needed as a first responder. So to start with, you need to be healthy. And you start being healthy by consuming a healthy low-carb diet. That means foods that are high in carbs, you need to stop eating them or significantly reduce them. So fruit juices need to be limited. Yes, fruit juices. Potatoes need to be limited. All grains, including whole grains, because we've been told that whole grains are healthy for you. Not in the quantities in which we eat it. It is not healthy for you. We cannot eat rice, flour, and potato for every meal. We have to eat more vegetables, and we have to eat protein. That is what human food is. Human food is not grains. The food pyramid that has staples below as the vast majority of what you need to eat, that has been proven to be wrong. And we've known this to be wrong at least 25 years now. But still, our culture insists that we must eat roti or basapshat or bake with every meal. And that has to stop, because those are not the main part of your meal. The main part of your meal is vegetables. It is not the grains, it is not flour, it is not oats, it is not porridge. And you have to adopt a low-carb diet in order to stay alert and in order to stay healthy. After you eat those foods, you will notice within half an hour to an hour, you get sleepy and you get tired. Anytime you eat a meal and you get sleepy and you get tired, you've eaten the wrong meal. Meals are supposed to give you energy. It's not supposed to take energy from you. That is what these foods do. You need to exercise regularly. Just walking half an hour every day is all that you need to do to keep you alert. Exercise is important for building your stamina, helping with circulation, helping with your muscle tone, and keeping you healthy. You need to address stress in your personal and career life. If people are stressing you out every day, you will not be a good first responder, because you have family issues, you have work issues that are on your mind, and you cannot focus on what you need to do. You need to address those issues. And start a habit of drinking water regularly. Even when you're in a crisis, when you have the habit of drinking water regularly, when you are a first responder, you will automatically know that you need to be hydrated. And when you are hydrated, you are able to better care for the people who are looking for your support. Tips of staying focused and energized. Stay hydrated, as I said earlier. Eat when you're hungry. Save food for later, especially if you know that you may not, you're working hard and you're focused on something. Organize with your team member to make sure that something is left for you. For when you're finished with your shift or your task, you will be taken care of. That's important. Avoid sugary foods, energy drinks, and caffeine. Those foods give you a 1 hour boost. But what happens after the hour? We still need you to be with us. So you need to eat real food. You could have protein bars, but not candy and chocolate bars. Eat real food. Eat fruit or ready-to-eat canned proteins, things like sardines. And the reason why I'm choosing canned foods or corned beef, I'm choosing canned food because in a crisis, we know that you may not have access to cooked food. But these things are good replacements. Eat fruit, vegetables, canned foods, because canned foods are normally easily accessible. Sardines, tuna, corned beef. Avoid rice, flour, cornflakes, and grains. Those foods may be easily accessible and they fill you up quickly. But within half hour to 1 hour, you're starting to lose focus and you're starting to get sleepy. And that is what those foods do. Because your body now needs to allocate resources from your attention and all the things that you are doing to start to process all the sugar that you've just eaten from these foods. They may not taste sugary, but rice, flour, and grains and corn has a lot of sugar in it. And your body needs to bring down your sugar level, because if your sugar level goes too high, you will pass out. And that is why we really have a problem on Sunday afternoons, because after you eat so much macaroni pie, potato salad, macaroni salad, roti, bus up shot, your body had to work on getting your sugar down, so it have to knock you out. So imagine in the middle of a crisis, you eat all of those foods, you will knock out. And who is going to be running the show when you knock out? Or even if you're not knock out, you could barely keep your focus. The foods you need to eat when you're in a crisis is vegetables and protein. Get rest whenever it comes. I know that there's no schedule when you see there's a flood. You just have to do what you need to do when the flood is going on. Get rest whenever it comes. Manage stress through meditation, yoga techniques. Sit quietly. Things are going to stress you out. You need to regroup, pull yourself away, meditate, think to yourself, address your stress, because there are a lot of demands being made on first responders. And it is a very stressful job. But you need to manage the stress when it happens. And if it requires you to take a little 5 minutes to recoup and readjust and understand and strategize in your head how you're dealing with all of these issues, you need to do it. You may also need to delegate jobs, because what happens with first responders, especially those on the higher levels, is that they keep all the decision making and responses to themselves. You have to delegate it. And if you cannot delegate it, you need to train your people so that they understand what their role is and the parameters under which they operate, so that they could fix it, so that they could support you. Acknowledge and celebrate your achievements. So whenever you acknowledge something that has been achieved, you've saved a couple of people, you save a family, you need to celebrate this. Because if you don't celebrate it, you're going to be just wearing down yourself. We need to stop and celebrate. And then go back to working, eh? But that celebration is important. So, blood sugar control. These are some tips I'm going to give you to control your blood sugar. Always eat when you're hungry. If you do not eat when you're hungry, you're not going to be focused. And you're not going to be an effective first responder. Always eat when you're hungry, especially when you're dealing with a crisis over an extended period. Take naps whenever you can get them. Drink water, not coffee, sugary foods, sugary drinks, or energy drinks. Drink water, not coffee. I'll repeat that. Not sugary drinks, no energy drinks. They give you a boost, yes, but they never keep you for the long haul. And oftentimes, it's those that are there for the long haul is the ones that make the difference. And I know every individual first responder wants to make a difference. Manage your stress by delegating tasks. That's something I said earlier. You need to delegate tasks. If you are unable to do everything, do not feel that you have the power to do everything. That's why you have a team. Rely on the team. Everybody understand their role. If somebody is unable to do their role, get somebody else to do it, or fill in for them until they come back. Eat meat, peas, beans, salad, and cooked vegetables whenever you can. Don't go for the quick rice or the quick cornflakes or the quick sandwich all the time. You get those things, they give you a boost for now, but eventually your body has to deal with the sugar in those foods. And when it starts to deal with the sugar, your attention level, your attention span goes away, and you start drifting away, and your focus goes. So eat meat, peas, beans, salads, and cooked vegetables whenever you can. Or like I said earlier, it is a crisis situation, so all of what I just called in here may not be available, but things like sardine and tuna should be available, and you should be able to eat those as well. Avoid grains like rice, wheat, corn, oats, soya. Avoid those things because they come with sugars and carbs in them that demand that your body deal with it, and you're unable to be focused throughout your crisis. So now that we've addressed what you need to do in a crisis, here are some of the myths about diabetes that many people, including crisis managers, are unaware of. One of them is diabetes is in your genes. No, we learn to be diabetic. We are never predisposed to be diabetic. And because my grandmother and my grandfather and my father is diabetic, doesn't mean that you will become diabetic. You become diabetic because they taught you the habits and the culture that made you diabetic. When you stop with those habits and that culture, your diabetes go away. And it works with everybody. We have done research into it, and we have the proof that it is true. Diabetes is not in anybody's family. We can talk afterwards because that's a whole long discussion, and we'll present you with the information we have to prove that diabetes is not in your family. Because when you change your lifestyle, your diabetic symptoms go away, and it goes away with everybody. Fat people are more likely to test positive for diabetes than skinny people. No, that is not true. As I said earlier, when you eat sugary foods, your organs convert the sugar in it into fat and stores it away. If you are skinny now, your body, and you eat your sugary foods, your organs is going to convert the sugar into fat. But because genetically you're skinny, your body have nowhere to put it. So it starts to back up in your blood. So skinny people are more likely to be diabetic than fat people. And that's one of the major myths about diabetes. There are many fat people walking around and their blood sugar is normal. And there are many more skinny people walking around and they don't even know that they're diabetic. But whenever you test them, their sugar is high and they're not even aware of it. Because they feel because they're skinny, they cannot be diabetic. And because they're skinny, they feel they can eat anything they want. No, skinny people are more likely to be diabetic than a fat person. You can control your weight and risk of diabetes by restricting your food portions. No, that doesn't work either. There are many diabetic people who are afraid to eat because anytime they eat something, it goes up. So restricting your food portion does not do it. You have to eat the right foods. If you eat the wrong foods, even in small portions, your blood sugar will still go up. And that's important for a first responder because you may think to yourself, I will just eat a sandwich or two and I'll be able to work and go ahead. No, if your blood sugar goes up after you eat a sandwich or two, you're getting headaches, you're getting pain in your back, your muscles tense. All of those are symptoms of diabetes and it happens. The next myth is the best time to check your fasting blood sugar is when you wake up. That is also wrong. The best time to check your fasting blood sugar is just before your first meal in the morning when you're hungry. When you're hungry is when your body tells you it's ready to break its fast. And that is the time to check your fasting blood sugar reading. Many people will have gone to the health center and tell them not to eat the day before because you're going to be taking your fasting blood sugar reading. And by 10 o'clock in the morning, everybody vexed because they find it taking too long to test the sugar. No, we want it to be hungry. And the problem is, as a diabetic, when you see you're hungry, it is be vexed. And that's the time to take your blood sugar reading. Now, you're not supposed to be too hungry. Eh? You're just supposed to be hungry and you're ready to eat. That's the time to take it. All right? Not when you wake up. Once you have diabetes, it is with you for the rest of your life. That is also wrong. We prove that to be wrong at our clinic all the time. More than 800 clients and patients we've had over the last 3 years, and all of them have improved their quality of life, and many of them, the vast majority of them, their diabetes has reversed, and their blood sugar is low, and they're not on medication. Diabetes is reversible, and it is not planned, and it doesn't foretold that it's going to be with you for the rest of your life. That is not true, and it can be proven wrong over and over again. We have not had someone who did not benefit from lifestyle change. Everybody benefits from it. So what can you do to reduce your risk as a first responder and as a normal citizen? Because that's what we all are at the end result. We are all just normal citizens helping out each other. Exercise daily. Walk 30 to 60 minutes daily. Do more if you can. And you can walk in the morning for 30 minutes and walk in the evening for 30 minutes. However, walking for 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening does not make 30 minutes. You have to do 30 minutes straight. Reduce your intake of grains and potatoes. The rise of our consumption of grains from the 1960s has resulted in us being overweight right now and diabetic. For those of us who are 50 years and older, you will remember when we were in primary school and secondary school, there was always one boy in class we used to call fat boy. Now these days, it have no fat boy at all. You know why? Because everybody fat. So how could you call somebody fat boy when everybody fat? Now they will start picking on the skinny boy. So they have skinny boy now. But that is a result of the change in our diet. And we have to fix that. We have to reduce our intake of grains and potatoes, which started from the 1960s and is continuing to progress now. Everybody's eating fries, everybody's eating grains, everybody's eating rice, everybody's eating potatoes. It has to stop. And we need to turn to vegetables and protein. That is what human food is. Human food is not grains. Drink plenty water. Strive towards a target of 3 liters of water a day. You work towards it all the time and get accustomed with it. This is what you do to prepare your body for the next crisis that's coming. You have to prepare yourself just like you prepare your equipment. All of these things are what you need to do. Cut out soft drink, juices, energy drinks, and sugary foods from your diet. Just doing that will result in you losing weight and your belly going down. Just doing that alone. And then we can start with the other things as well. This is our first step. Cut out soft drink. Juices as well. Energy drinks and sugary foods from your diet. Drink water. Nothing better than water. Lucozade is not medication. Gatorade is not medication. Water is what your body needs. And we have had cases where people have been to the hospital because they weren't feeling well and they're drinking Malta and Lucozade and Gatorade. And it's adding to their blood sugar. So by the time they reach in the hospital, their blood sugar is 550 and more. Because they've been grown accustomed that whenever you're not feeling well, you're going to drink a Lucozade or a Malta. And that has to stop. Finally, take time for yourself. We don't spend enough me time taking care of ourselves and thinking and meditating and clearing our brains of all that has happened during the day. Exercise and meditation and self-care go together. And when you do both of them together with a healthy diet and drinking water, you're on your way to becoming ready to be an effective first responder. So this is our bonus tip. Contact the National Wellness Center to get assistance in reversing your diabetes. Lifestyle change isn't as easy as you may think. There's a whole herbal and pharmaceutical business ecosystem out there that's bent on confusing you. And when you make mistakes because you're confused, it can cost you your life. There are many myths about our habits and lifestyle that keeps us unwell. At the National Wellness Center, we will clear the air and demystify diabetes for you. So you'll understand why it progresses in your body despite you making changes and despite you taking medication. As long as you're on medication, you'll not heal it. And you'll not be an effective first responder. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm ready to take questions.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So I am certainly blown over by your presentation, and you know, at this time we will be looking to take the questions that have been asked. Thank you very much for a most enlightening presentation. I'm really taken aback by what you have delivered to us here today, but it has been very interesting and thought-provoking. So we have up on the screen how you can ask questions. You can either send an SMS text, and we have gotten a couple already, and we also have the Q&A and Zoom, and we already have a number of questions. So let's get to it. The first question is diabetes truly reversible for type 1 insulin-dependent diabetics, or is this concept only for type 2 diabetics?
What we found in our clinic is that in many cases, because the medical professional who dealt with you, with our patient, with the client, did not sit down and explain to them how diabetes work. A type 1 diabetic is someone whose pancreas is no longer working. But there's a spectrum of it, from it not working at all to it providing some functionality. And work needs to be done to understand how much functionality it has. And then based on that, you can develop a lifestyle change plan for that. There are some clients who, as long as you're a type 1 diabetic and you can tell me that sometimes it doesn't be taking your medication and sometimes you do, then you are not a type 1 diabetic. And many people who are type 1 diabetic think that they are type 1 diabetic because they have to take insulin every day. But if you skip a day or two and you're not taking insulin, you are on the spectrum that's closer to type 2, and we can fix it. So when we deal with you and understand what your situation is and go deeper into what your therapy is and how far along your organs are functioning, we'll have a better idea of if you really are type 1 or type 2. So far, all the type 1s who's come to us have not really been type 1s. So we have the impression that really type 1 is really what happens when you see everybody decide that they don't have time for you because you give them trouble. And really, you're not a type 1, you just need to be clear about what you need to do to make the changes so that you are more, so that you'll be better able to manage your sugar levels. I'm not hearing you.
All right, sorry about that. So thank you. So the next question we have up is, so is diabetes really reversible? Like, would it be cured?
Yes, yes, you will be cured. You see, the way we approach diabetes is that you are literally poisoning yourself. When you stop poisoning yourself and start eating properly, you are automatically cured. So in reality, you're never really sick, you know. You have been inflicting the poison onto yourself, but nobody is telling you that you're poisoning yourself, you know, because there's a whole ecosystem behind keeping diabetics sick, because there's so much money to be made by keeping you sick that there's nothing you can do and nobody's educating you about it. But when you are aware of what you ought to do, you could change it so that when we fixed you and your organs are starting back to work the way they ought to work, it doesn't mean you can eat as much rice as you want, you know. It doesn't mean you can eat as much bread as you want. It just means that you need to eat it in normal portions now, like what the rest of the world does. People in Europe and the Middle East, they eat a little piece of bread here with the food. In our food, bread and bacon and roti and basapshat is the biggest part of the meal. So when you start eating portions that is consistent with what the rest of the world is eating, you will not be diabetic. But if you want to go back to eating like that, your diabetes will come back. So you wasn't really sick. You poisoned yourself. And when you stop poisoning yourself, you stop being sick. So then therefore, I would consider that to be a cure because it's a long-term solution. You're not going to be diabetic anymore when you make the changes that you need to make to fix your life. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Some really groundbreaking and thought-provoking information that's coming forward here for sure. So we have a few questions still well lined up. So the next one, let's get to it. So if I am understanding correctly, we in the Caribbean are likely diabetic and have fatty liver in about 10 years after puberty, around age 30-ish. How to find this out when blood sugar is normal to avoid discovering this later on in life in the 60s?
There are two ways to know. Number one, as long as you have a belly, you have fatty liver. As long as you have a belly, you have a fatty liver. You don't even have to check. The other way to check is via ultrasound. You can get an ultrasound done and you will see that you have fatty liver. 80% of us in the Caribbean does have a fatty liver because more than 80% of us do have a big belly. And the fatty liver, the belly happens only after your liver is full. So it's a process that proceeds. So that proceeds unabated as you get older. And as long as your belly starts to get bigger, a 25-year-old, as long as his belly is starting to protrude, he already has a fatty liver. So the first thing you need to do is work on getting your belly down. And when your belly is down, your body works on getting the fat out of your liver. So the fatty liver is the last part of it, but you need to get your belly down first. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. All right. Excellent indeed. Well, I understood it, so I trust. Okay. So the next question is, when a person only eats proteins, beans and meats, and vegetables only, how will they get the energy to function without falling into a ketoacidosis state and begin to get cramps? Should individual not eat complex carbohydrates to allow slow release of sugars, glucose, which is critical for the brain to function?
Well, there are two things. Number one, when you eat vegetables that are tropical vegetables, they all come with enough carbs for you. So you never go into a ketoacidosis state. So that keto diets, for example, they don't allow you to eat pumpkin and carrots and stuff like that. We allow our clients to eat those foods because we recognize that you need some carbs in your diet. But we have been overdosing on carbs for 30 years or more of our life. So that when you stop eating so much carbs, your body now starts converting the fat in your body into sugar and puts it into your bloodstream. So that you always have enough sugar in your blood to go forward. So you don't have the issue of ketoacidosis. And that's a very good question. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Okay, so next question. Good night. During the recent eruption of the volcano here in St. Vincent, the water supply was contaminated as a result. I turned to coconut water as a source of water. Was I wrong to use coconut as an alternative to natural water?
No, you weren't wrong to use it. Especially since that you will be using coconut water on a temporary basis. But you shouldn't be drinking coconut water for the rest of your life. And that's when it comes into play. As they say in the medical profession, save the life first before saving a limb, because your life is more important. So you drink your coconut water, live on it for a week or so until you get fresh water. But you should not be having coconut water every day or living on coconut water. You will get sick. Coconut water has as much sugar in it as many soft drinks. Coconut water does, yes. And when you drink coconut water, you will see your blood sugar go up within half an hour from drinking it. Coconut water, green mango, green fig, all of those things are high in sugar. And after you've eaten a meal of green fig, you will see your blood sugar go up. And there are many foods on our diet that does not taste sugary, but they have a lot of sugar in it. And that includes potatoes, that includes rice, that includes bread as well. They don't taste sweet when you're having it, but after you've eaten it, you can test your blood sugar and you'll see that it goes up.
Lovely questions, and the more is being revealed as the questions come and the answers are given. Okay, so up next, is a high A1C just as bad as a low A1C?
No, a high A1C is definitely bad. A low A1C is not bad. And many athletes, like maybe Usain Bolt and so, their A1C would be as low as 4.7. Yes, and that is good. He's definitely healthy. But you have an A1C of 10.5, 11, 14. You are looking at death's door, and you have to get that done. So a low A1C is good. Anything below 6, you're not diabetic. Between 6 and 6.5, you're pre-diabetic. 6.5 and above confirms that you are diabetic. Anything 8 and above is considered to be high. So an A1C is a good measure, and we use it in our clinic to see how far someone's diabetes has progressed. And based on the reading we get, we know how aggressively we need to deal with your diabetes and getting you back well.
Excellent. I must say, crystal clear answers to these questions. Okay, up next, what is a good fasting and after dinner figure to maintain?
That depends on your age. A teenager, for example, their own should always be below 100. As you get older, it goes up because our lifestyle now, we damage our organs as we progress throughout our lifetime, as was explained earlier. A good rule of thumb is that your blood sugar must never go above 150 at all times. Whether you eat or not, it must never be more than 150. And conversely as well, it should not really be above 120 or 130 fasting. Definitely not more than 150 as fasting. Then you
just to clarify, for fasting, 150 as in 150?
No, for fasting it should be below. You see, everybody is different, but one clear thing that we know is that your blood sugar should not be above 150 at any time whenever you test it. And fasting levels is different in different people depending on their age. So I cannot make a commitment and tell you, I know for sure, for example, for a teenager, it should be below 100. But as you get older, it sneaks up little by little. And you may not get back the level of functionality you had in the past. So that you may not go below 100 anymore, but that does not mean that you're not healthy. Every individual is different, and we'll look at it on a case-by-case basis. But one thing I'm certain of is that as a rule of thumb, your blood sugar, doesn't matter whenever in the day you take that reading, should not be above 150.
Okay, excellent indeed. So we're getting shout outs from different parts of the world. So Massachusetts in the house, according to Uncle Ben. All right, so we have a question. Are sweet potatoes, cassava, and other ground provisions a healthier option than potatoes?
Yes, they are. But we in the Caribbean, we have a problem. Everything we do, we just overdo it. So somebody tells some people in the Caribbean, they tell all of us, rice not good for you and provision good for you. So what we've done then is to take all the rice off of our plate and we pack up our plate with provision. That's not helping at all. You're supposed to only eat one slice of provision per day, one slice. So all those people who are packing up their plate with sweet potatoes and things, you're not doing anything good for yourself. Everything has to be done in moderation. So an ideal plate for a healthy person should be cooked vegetables, some salad, a slice of provision, and protein. And I'm saying a slice of provision because provision is good for you. But a plate load of provision does not help you. Just like with fruit, somebody tell people in the Caribbean, fruit good for you. So every morning, everybody have a big bowl of fruit in front of them and they're eating all of that. There's one fruit a day keeps the doctor away, not all the fruit on the island. And that is what our problem is. It doesn't understand how to moderate. We overdo everything. And when you stop overdoing and eating in moderation, you will get the health results that you want.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate your candor, and it really is helping us to understand these things. Okay, next one. Hi, Quaker oats, I've read is good for DM, but is it healthy to eat breakfast and dinner? So I'm not sure what DM means. I suppose you may understand, Doc. And the second part of it is, so complex carbs such as green bananas, sweet potatoes aren't good for diabetics. I always read they control blood sugar. So I guess two questions in one there.
Oh, I have to repeat that. I have to take one at a time.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so the first one, hi, Quaker oats. I've read is good for DM, but is it healthy to eat breakfast and dinner?
I don't know exactly what DM is, but Quaker oats is a grain, just like rice, wheat, oats. They send up your blood sugar. And what has happened is that
Oh, just to clarify, sorry. So the person says DM is diabetes. So I suppose it meant short for diabetes mellitus or something like that. So
okay.
DM is diabetes, yeah.
Oh, okay. No. Oats clearly sends up your sugar, and that has been shown in all the research. The problem is that we are aware as a society that white rice isn't good for us. We are aware that white flour isn't good for us. We are aware that instant oats isn't good for us. So what those food producers has done is to repackage those foods and try to sell it to you as whole foods and whole grains. No, the problem with rice is rice. Doesn't matter if it's brown rice, if it's basmati rice, doesn't matter what the rice is. The problem with rice is rice. When it passes your jaw and it goes down into your stomach, your body treats it the same way. The same thing with whole wheat flour. The problem with whole wheat flour is the same problem with white flour. The problem with it is wheat. The problem with oats is oat. Doesn't matter if it's steel cut or instant. The problem with oats is oats. And they send up your sugar. And there have been a lot of advertisements and talk about how oats is good for you, simply because they want to sell their product. It has nothing to do with your health. The guy in the street who's selling you peanut punch, he will never tell you peanut punch not good for you. But peanut punch is loaded with condensed milk, sugar, evaporated milk, and a whole set of stuff that's not good for you. So what you have to do is look at the source of your information. And when you study it properly, you'll realize that the source of the information is the food producers themselves. They have the product to sell. Oats is not good for you. Oats is not good for a diabetic. And the volumes in which we just eat oats, it is not even good for a healthy person, because it's a big bowl of oats we eat in the morning. And that is not healthy. And we eat it with a big bowl of milk. Milk has has lactose in it, which is sugar. And many of us are actually allergic to it. Milk is for babies. Milk is not for a grown adult. We need to stop drinking milk. Milk and oats together is a recipe for high blood sugar and diabetes. The next question.
Okay. So complex carbs such as green bananas, sweet potatoes, and good for a diabetic. I always read they controlled blood sugar.
No, they don't control your blood sugar. The only thing that could control your blood sugar is your body. And the way you can help them to control it is by stop eating those carbs. Green fig has a lot of carbs in it. And those other products that you mentioned. Like provisions, you have to eat it in moderation if you are healthy. If you are diabetic, you have to cut it out until your body is in a position where it can deal with it.
Okay, excellent. So continuing with the questions, very conscious of the time, but I guess a lot of interest in here. So let's go. Eating the way you describe will not help me to gain weight, will it? I had gestational diabetes and then type 2. I lost plenty pounds and I really want to regain weight.
Yes, eating the way we are telling you, you will gain weight. The interesting thing about it is that there are so many things wrong with our culture in the way, and it's not that our culture is not as good as others, but one of the things about our culture is this habit of eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. Normally, when we're eating breakfast, we're not hungry. So why are you feeding yourself? You need only to eat when you're hungry. And if you want to gain weight, you have to eat some of those complex carbs, like sweet potatoes and yams and so on. But you cannot eat it in the volumes that we eat it in here in the Caribbean. You have to eat a slice or two of it and eat everything in moderation. Now, when you eat vegetables and meat, you will not gain weight unless you exercise. Doesn't matter how much protein you put in. Your muscles only begin to grow when you give them resistance. And that's why a bodybuilder does their routine every day, because the only way to grow your muscle is to exercise. So if you are not exercising and you want to eat all of those foods, you will not gain weight. One of the myths about diabetes is that if you exercise, you lose weight. The truth is the opposite happens. When you exercise, you gain muscle and you gain weight. And that is what you need to do. You need to eat more protein, eat more vegetables, have some provision in your meal, and you have to exercise. If you do not exercise, you will not gain weight.
Okay, excellent. So next question. All right, so we're seeing, okay, St. Vincent is in the house. All right. Good night. Is intermittent fasting a good strategy to help limit diabetes?
I would say yes, but on our program, for example, we do intermittent fasting automatically. Intermittent fasting should not be something that you plan. You shouldn't wake up a morning and say, okay, I'm going to do intermittent fasting from 6 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't work like that. If you only eat when you're hungry and you eat the right foods, your body automatically does intermittent fasting. So when you wake up in the morning, you're not normally hungry around 7 or 8 o'clock. The first time you will get hungry is about 10:30, 11 o'clock. That is the time to eat. After you've eaten the right food, which is vegetables and meat and some provision and protein, the next time you're going to get hungry is about 6 p.m. in the afternoon. You eat a full plate of food again. You don't eat less because it's dinner time. You eat to satisfy yourself every time you eat. And the next time you're going to get hungry is 10 o'clock the next day. You have just done 18-hour fasting. And your body does it on its own. You don't have to plan it. You just follow the lead of your body and you will be doing intermittent fasting. And every now and then, your body is only going to tell you that it's hungry once for the day. And you would have done a 24-hour fast. So you don't have to plan intermittent fasting. Whenever you're planning it, you're doing it wrong. You just need to follow your body and your body will do it. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, excellent. So let's continue. What are your views on resistant starches?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's a typo. So, well, I've been identifying persons, but this was asked by one Shane. So Shane, if you could clarify the question, and we will deal with it. So what is meant by resistant starches, or what the word is? Okay, next one. So what would be the foods to provide the fiber we require?
You get all the fiber you need from vegetables. Nothing has more fiber than that. Nothing has more fiber than okras. Nothing has more fiber than cabbage. Nothing has more fiber than all of those foods that we mentioned there. You get a lot of fiber from vegetables. Watercress, you get a lot of fiber from it. Those are the foods you need to be eating. And those will help with your bowel movements and everything. Together with drinking enough water, you will have no problem with enough fiber.
Okay, excellent. So next question, what is the relation between fat bellies, stress, cortisol levels, and diabetes?
That one is a little complex. I have to research that before I get to that question. I don't understand what fat belly stress is. It's the first time I'm hearing that too. So okay. I'll research it and maybe I'll be able to get back to you.
Sure, excellent. And we do have a survey coming at the end of the session, and if persons fill that survey out with their contact, we will certainly provide any answers that are emergent. So excellent indeed. All right, next one. One of the myths you mentioned is that fat people don't test diabetic more than skinny people. But then in the answer to a previous question, you said that if you have a belly, then you are diabetic and have a fatty liver. I'm confused. Could you clarify? Do skinny people not have fatty liver? So should skinny people here in the Caribbean without a belly, normal blood sugar, have an USS in their 30s?
I'll try to answer that. When a skinny person eats sugary food, their organs convert the sugar in their food into fat and stores it away in their liver. Yes, a skinny person will get a fatty liver. However, there's only limited amount of space on the rest of their body to store fat. So sometimes they may have a belly and sometimes they don't. So when they're eating the sugary foods and your body has nowhere to store it, it backs up into your blood. So, and that is why they will test positive for diabetes earlier. But it doesn't mean that a fat person isn't diabetic too. They are also diabetic, but they will test positive later in life. So they're both diabetic, but you'll get tested positive as skinny person earlier in life than as fat person. I don't know if you've ever seen the show My 500-Pound Wife or My 500-Pound Life. That's be on, I think, on the Lifestyle channel. And that's where they're trying to get a lot of fat people to lose weight and things. Now, a fat person, you will see one of those fat people eat 10, 20 pizzas. And when they test the blood sugar is low, you know. It's normal, it's 100 and below. Because as they eat the sugar, it's converted into fat. And clearly they have plenty of space in their body to store the fat. So therefore their blood sugar doesn't go up. But that does not mean that that person isn't diabetic or they're not sick. They certainly are sick. It cannot be normal for you to be 600 pounds. And so there we need to fix that as well. So that fat person will not test positive for diabetes, but clearly they're diabetic. And a skinny person will test positive because they need to make the changes as well. I hope I clarified that for you.
Yeah, well, I understood it. And it was a good question by the person, and you've certainly clarified that for me. So I trust that all the participants would have been so elucidated as well. Okay, so Shane did say it's not a typo, and he further clarified. He said resistant starches are starches that are not digested but pass through the dietary system. Green bananas are high in resistant starches.
I am not sure if green bananas are high in resistant starches, no. Because they do show up as high on, after you've eaten bananas, they show up on your blood. I know that there are some foods that are high in resistant starches. Those are like high fiber foods, the whole fibers pass straight through. Really, the problem could be that in the Caribbean, where everybody else might eat one banana, we have to eat like 10 green fig with our meals. And so therefore, it throws out the idea that, you know, this is resistant. Because when you compare to people in Europe, they might eat half a banana or half a green fig. But we can't eat half a green fig. We can't eat 2 polori. We can't eat 1 mango. We have to eat 10. And so therefore, that is probably the reason why when we eat green fig in the Caribbean, it goes up. When the rest of the world, if they eat green fig, it stays normal. I hope I answer your question, Shane.
So it sounds as though the mantra, all things in moderation, applies in this case here. All right. So thanks, Shane, for clarifying. Okay, another one. Just confirming that a blood sugar below 100 but not less than 70 for fasting is the ideal to aim for.
Yes, that's a good ideal to aim for.
Okay. All right, next one. Is too much cucumbers not good for you?
Well, too much of a good thing isn't good for anything. So I will say yes, but I've not met anybody who has eaten too much cucumbers as yet. By the third cucumber, you'll get tired of it. Good question.
Okay, excellent indeed. All right. Okay, one of the myths you mentioned is that diabetes risk and weight control cannot be done with portion control. But then you said that we in the Caribbean overdoing it with our portion sizes and need to eat in moderation. Could you explain?
I mentioned that it cannot be done with portion control because we eat the wrong foods. So many people who are overweight, they will tell you, but I don't eat much. And then you ask the question, what do you eat? And then you realize that they're eating rice. Not much rice, but they're eating rice. They're eating provisions. They're eating bread. They're eating oats. And you don't need to have a big portion of it to maintain your size. The research is showing that when you eat a slice of bread, if you're on a weight loss program, you eat a slice of bread, your weight loss stops for 5 days. And if every 5 days you eat bread, your weight will never change. In every community in the Caribbean, there are always a couple of fat people who will be running around the savannah. For years, they run around the savannah and they still maintain the same weight. Because when they finish running on the savannah, you know what they do? They will go and buy coconut water and pylori. 2 pylori could take away all the hard work of 3 hours of exercise. And in the Caribbean, I don't know anybody who's eat 2 pylori. Everybody is eat 10. So therefore, they will never lose weight because of what they're eating. And the portion size does not have to be great. It is what is on the plate is the problem. And then conversely now, when they're eating good stuff like fruits, they're eating too much of it. So I hope I explained your question. I answer your question. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. All right, next one. So, what really constitutes a breakfast meal?
Now, we've been told for many years that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That is a lie. So therefore, you should not be having breakfast at all. You should only be eating when you're hungry. And usually we are not hungry at breakfast time, so we should not be eating. When you get hungry, eat vegetables, protein, and healthy fats. That is what a meal is. And there should not be breakfast, there should not be lunch, there should not be dinner. There should be first meal of the day and second meal of the day, and that's it. If you're working late on a project, you're working up till 12 midnight, you may eat a third meal because you're going to get hungry again. But other than that, a normal person should really only eat twice for the day, and you should skip breakfast. Now, because we've grown up for 30 years and 40 years eating breakfast, what you should do is have a cup of tea with no milk or sugar in it, so that you go through the ritual of eating, because that's how you grow up. That's our culture. So you're not hungry, you drink a cup of tea. And then that will satisfy your body's need for that ritual, so you get on with the rest of your day.
A question that occurred to me while you were saying, first meal of the day, second meal of the day, and you earlier said eat when you're hungry only. What about persons who in their work situation have a lunch hour or lunch break at a certain time and they may not be hungry? Any recommendations for persons who may on that, especially, let's say there are some workers that have a 12-hour shift and they may only have a certain time either that they can or are allowed to have something?
That is a major challenge. Yes, and I acknowledge that. And because we are in a culture where you eat at specific times, breakfast at a specific time, and you get a recess break, and then you get a lunch break, yes, that is a major challenge. And on an individual basis, especially somebody who has blood sugar issues, that is a challenge. Maybe what you can do is eat before your shift and then sometime in the middle of your shift. I don't know. But it is a major challenge, and it requires you to have a relationship with people and work so they understand your situation and get the opportunity to eat when you're hungry. Because it doesn't take long to eat. Within 10 minutes, you finish eating and you're back to work. So there are opportunities for that, and that's what I'll recommend.
Excellent. I like your answer. So indeed, yes. All right. Okay, so back to the questions. Okay, so I know we're running a little bit on overtime, but there are questions, and I guess people have stayed, so there is interest. And with your kind permission, we can continue with a couple more questions.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it, so we can go forward.
All right. Like I tell you, I'm learning a whole lot, so this is phenomenal. All right. Good night from Tampa, Florida, USA. React 238 in the house. All right. What is the best to use for low blood sugar?
The best thing to do to reduce your sugar is to stop eating sugar. That's it. Stop eating sugary foods, stop eating high carb food. There's a carb index. Anything that's high on the index, you just stop eating it. And anything low on the index, you eat it. So stuff that's low on the index are vegetables and protein. That is eggs, fish, meat, and vegetables. And your blood sugar will stay low.
Okay. Now, the way the question was asked, I'm wondering if the person is asking how to achieve low blood sugar or what to do if you happen to have low blood sugar. I mean, and what would cause low blood sugar anyway. So I'm wondering if the person isn't asking what to do for low.
Okay. Yeah. You just need to eat. That's it. When you eat, your blood sugar goes up. Your blood sugar goes down when you're hungry. When you eat, it goes up. You just need to eat on time. Whenever you're hungry, eat.
Okay. All right, excellent. So next question, why are type 1 diabetics generally slim built and type 2 diabetics usually what we call obese?
The main reason is because that's not a general rule of thumb, by the way. But generally what happens with type 1 diabetics is that they don't exercise as much because they're always tired. So their muscles and their fat doesn't develop at them as well as a type 2 diabetic. Because by the time you become a type 2 diabetic, you've been spending many years accumulating the fat on your body. So by the time you're type 2 diabetic, your blood sugar starts to go up in a type 2 diabetic, their organs are already struggling to keep up with what you've been eating. So therefore, they're already fat, and there's lots of room for you to store more fat, but just that your organs can't keep up with the amount of food that you eat, the amount of sugar that you eat. So it starts to go up. So that's the main reason why type 1s are generally slimmer and type 2 are generally fatter.
You know, excellent. I have to really thank the participants for these questions because we are learning so much here. And I guess some of these things are things many of us probably always wondered about. And, you know, so very good, excellent questions. We continue. So if we don't need to drink milk, is yogurt okay / good in the diet?
You can eat Greek yogurt, but good Greek yogurt, I have not seen it on our supermarket shelves as yet. What they're selling and to us as Greek yogurt still has too much sugar in it. Yogurt is good, but almost all the yogurt has added sugar or fruit in it that adds to the sugar content.
So does that mean locally people who make their own yogurt or what we call dahi, that would be okay if they don't add sugar and all those things?
Yes, I think it's okay.
All right. Okay. Okay. Next one. I am type 1 diabetic, and to control my blood sugar, I can eat as much as 1 pound of unripe green fig, and my blood sugar stays below 100. And if I exercise after that meal, it would drop further to below 70. Why does this happen? I have done this numerous times with and without insulin injections, and similar results. Only with insulin sugar level drops much faster.
As long as you eat 1 pound of unripened green fig, your blood sugar will go up. What this tells me is that you are probably not a type 1 diabetic because your body is contributing to bringing down your blood sugar. You are not a type 1 diabetic, and we can get you off of insulin. That's my answer to you. Believe it or not.
Wow, okay. All right. Next one. Are snacks all right to have between meals?
When you're eating like the way I described earlier, where you eat a first meal and a second meal, we don't recommend that you snack. Because, for example, if you're going to eat at 10:30 and then your next meal is going to be around 5 p.m., 6 p.m., if you have a snack between there, your 5:30 meal is going to hit you at 9 o'clock in the night. And you really don't want that. And that's why we discourage snacking. Now, when you get into a cycle and you understand how your body works, a snack every now and then is fine. But if you find that every evening at 3 p.m. you have to take a snack, well, then that is not a snack, that is part of your diet. And you need to take it out of your diet. Snacks is not part of your diet. Snack is snacking. And when you ought to use snacking when you go to the movies with your family or some event is happening. But you should not be eating a snack 3 o'clock every day or 12 o'clock every day or 8 o'clock in the night. No, then that is not a snack. That is part of your diet. And you need to take the snack out of your diet.
Okay, excellent indeed. All right, next question. Isn't it dangerous to allow a diabetic patient to fast or eat only when they're hungry, especially one who's on diabetic meds? Hypoglycemia will step in?
No. When you come on our program, we take you off of the diabetic, of the medication that reduces your blood sugar. Because we are going to give you a diet that stops the flow of sugar into your body. And when we give you that diet, your blood sugar will go down. Therefore, you need to stop your medication. Because if you continue taking your medication, it will go too low. And that is one of the good benefits of it, of changing your diet. Because from the immediate time you come by us, you have to stop those medications.
So, from what you said and the question that was asked, anytime you hear someone, because I've heard of diabetics having too low blood sugar and that might cause them to pass out or feel a certain kind of way, does that mean that that is because of the medication that they're on that's causing the blood sugar to go low?
Yes. Your blood sugar only goes too low when you're on medication. We have not found one instance where your blood sugar goes too low when you're not on medication. It only happens when you're on medication. So when you come off a medication, that danger goes away. We now have to worry about it being too high. And it being too high, we can manage that. But when it goes too low, you have to go to the hospital. So we don't want it to go too low. So you're quite right about that.
I guess that's an incentive to come off medication, because if too low blood sugar is caused by medication, that is an incentive, I suppose.
Yes.
One of the incentives. Okay. Next up. So is drinking something hot in the morning to break gas a myth?
Yes, it is a myth. It makes you feel good though. And especially if you see you've grown up all your life eating something or drinking something in the morning, it makes you feel good. And it satisfies your culture and your habits of doing it. So it doesn't break gas or anything like that. I don't know if you'll be passing more open after you drink it. But really what it does is get your body moving and so on. And it doesn't do anything really. It just gives you, it's like a comfort food. And it's a healthy comfort food to drink tea in the morning. No milk, no sugar in that tea, no creamer either. Yeah.
Okay, understood. All right, so we'll probably take one more question in the interest of time. I see we are going close to 10:15, so let's just go do one more question, and I guess we can ask persons. We have a little survey form afterwards. If anyone has any questions, they can submit or contact you for further information. All right, so last one, I guess, for the evening. Are hamburgers okay to eat if you don't have cheese on it, or do you have to remove the bun?
Cheese is not the problem. The bun is the problem. You can eat as much cheese on it and enjoy your hamburger. I would suggest you do something like a cabbage wrap or lettuce wrap and enjoy it. The problem with hamburgers is not the meat. The problem is the bun. And the bun is made with flour and wheat. And that is what the problem is. So you can enjoy your hamburger with cheese. There's also a problem with ketchup on it because ketchup is loaded with sugar or barbecue sauce. You should not be eating ketchup also. You could use mayonnaise or garlic sauce. And with all of that, and pepper as you like. The problem is the bun, the problem is the ketchup, the problem is barbecue sauce. As long as you don't include those, you can enjoy hamburgers as much as you like, with as much cheese as you like on it as well, and bacon as well. So.
Okay, so, all right, let's take one more. I help an elderly lady, 80 years, on insulin. She takes her insulin on mornings, and sometimes she brings up everything and it comes with pain. What can she do?
Oh, she has to get an assessment. What you have to do is to check her sugar levels before you give her insulin, because that could get you sick if you take insulin and your blood sugar is low. In addition to that, you have to look at what she's eating. And if she's eating the wrong foods, a lot of foods, those grains that I'm so much against, a lot of them comes with gluten. And many people are gluten intolerant and they're not even aware of it. So that whenever they eat rice and bread, they get upset stomach and they feel ill and they have congestion as well. All of those things are signs of gluten intolerance. And gluten intolerance and asthma and so on only really started to develop after the 1960s. It really didn't used to occur before. And we can trace all of those problems to eating rice and bread and macaroni and stuff like that. So I think that is what the problem is. She has to change her diet, and you have to monitor her blood sugar before you give her insulin. In addition to that, you need to have rules for giving insulin. There are many people in the country who just take insulin in the morning and in the evening without checking the sugar or anything. You need rules for it. And like we mentioned earlier, if you take insulin and your blood sugar is already low, you could die. So you have to check your blood sugar, and there must be rules for it. For example, when I say rules, I mean if your blood sugar is below 120, you're not taking insulin. If your blood sugar is above 200, you're taking it. You need to have rules for it. And if you don't have rules, you're putting your life at risk, because you take it at any time, and sooner or later, you're going to run into the situation where your blood sugar is low and you take insulin. And then your blood sugar will go too low and you will die. So all of that mixed up into that little question that you asked me there, that requires a lot more investigation. And we have a lot, age is just a number. We have a lot of people 80 years old and over who are off their insulin and they live in normal lives now, because they understand how their body deals with the sugar and they understand how to change their diet to get the best out of it. And I think she will benefit from that as well. Thank you.
So just as a further clarification, you're saying it's possible that someone who is type 1 taking insulin, I know you answered one of the earlier questions to suggest to the person that they're probably not really type 1, they probably might still be type 2 or something like that. But a person who is, let's say, truly type 1, that's insulin dependent, no doubt, is that possible to come off of insulin? Am I getting that? It's possible to, or will they be dependent on insulin right through?
We've had about 30 to 35 cases of people who came to us saying that they were type 1 diabetics. And in reality, when we did our investigation and did the changes that we needed to make, we realized only 2 of those people were genuinely type 1 diabetic. So that many of them may feel that they are type 1 because the doctor told them that they're type 1, but they haven't explained to them the implications and what are the symptoms and what a type 1 diabetic will go through and what a type 2 diabetic will go through. And many of those people who were type 1 will tell me, I was feeling so sick I didn't bother to take it. As long as you're telling me that you are not a type 1 diabetic, you are type 2. And we just need to get the right program to get you off of insulin and to get you healing properly.
What about a person who has been type 1 diabetic since childhood?
We've had many cases of them who have been type 1 since childhood, and they were shocked when they realized that they do not need to be on insulin. For some reason, over the years, a doctor would have looked at them and said that they're type 1, and every subsequent doctor that they've come through in the clinic will just read their file and don't do the requisite tests and investigation to determine if they're really type 1. But in addition to that, when you go to a clinic, they don't have much time for you. So they just go through your file. Sometimes they hardly ever ask you a question and just renew your prescription. So therefore, you really never know if you're type 1 or not. And what we need is for our medics to do further investigations. And maybe you can't blame them because they have a huge workload. And they just have a lot of people to see about during the course of a day. And if somebody has already done the investigation, they just follow with what was done before and follow through with you with that. Because as long as your blood sugar is high and there's a diagnosis that you are type 1 diabetic, they accept that and they move forward without investigating it. And really what we need is for more people to investigate the type 1 diabetes. As long as you could do without insulin for a day or two, you need to get checked out. And you will realize that you're probably not a type 1. You're on mute, we're not hearing you.
Oh yes, sorry, thanks. So folks, it's now 21 minutes past 10 p.m. in Trinidad and Tobago. And I think we have really gone quite a bit over time, indeed. So I think we need to bring the Q&A section, which has been really interesting, to a close at this point. And you know, I must say thanks for such an enlightening presentation. It has blown me over, I'll tell you that. So many things that counterintuitive to what we might have known or thought of. You know, and those questions really brought home some of those concepts. What we want to ask at this stage is to ask persons at the end of the webinar. You will be redirected to a survey, and if you don't, just simply go, if you wish to fill out our short survey as well as ask for any further information or provide contact, you can go to the URL or the link survey.ttreact.com. It's up on your screen, so you can take note of it just in case when the webinar ends, it does not automatically redirect you or you're not able to fill out the survey right now. It's a very short survey, just a couple of questions, shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes. But please take the link if you want to leave feedback on the session as well as to ask any further follow-up information. So I would like to certainly thank all of the participants for your questions. And as we come to the end of today's webinar, please, again, I'm appealing, please consider filling out the survey. Also, a recording will be available after the event. We had several persons who have joined via YouTube as well, and we'll be making that link available. So if you want to get the link, just simply fill out the survey at the end and we will email the link to you as well. Okay, I'm still seeing some questions coming up, but we'll have to take those.
I can ask them to send their questions to us. Our contact number.
Sure, please.
475-6950.
Okay, excellent.
You can get us directly there. We'll answer your questions and you can get some more information about our programs there. 475-6950. And you can probably put it up on your website so anyone else coming could have access to it as well.
Okay. Well, I hate to leave people in the cold, so let's take a bonus question. How is that? What happens when you have pancreas failure?
Well, then you are type 1 diabetic.
Good. Short and sweet. Okay, excellent. So please consider filling out the survey. Did I say that a few times? We will provide the link to the recording for persons who may wish to go over. You have the contact information for National Wellness Centers. Certainly thanks to all attendees for your participation, those excellent questions. Special thanks to our feature presenter, Peter Neptune, for imparting this most relevant an informational brief to us all. It's been a blast. So thank you, everyone. And we'd like to ask everyone, please continue to be safe and do have a good night. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.